Alright, I'm not in Trailmakers today, but I am checking out the second trailer for the new PvP update because they are discussing a bunch of new logic and updates to existing logic. I've checked this trailer out just before recording this, and after watching it, and I could be wrong, I could be really wrong, but it seems a bit suspicious to me that they're adding all of the things they're adding in series with one another. I got a feeling, but I'll get to that later. I'll tell you what I've got a feeling about later. For now, let's just watch it, and I'll just kind of explain why all the stuff they're adding is really important. Gotta love the soundtrack. Right, so we have loads of these already. They've updated this with just a bunch of new. That kind of also works out as a function, and this one is especially useful. I will explain why later. It is also a function, but it's a very, very useful function that used to take up quite a few blocks that now only takes up one. Oh yeah, first of all, great. This is awesome. Scrap mechanics. This is one of my favorite things about scrap mechanics, is when you join stuff together, it shows you the lines and what you're connecting. The Trailmakers switch thing, I mean, it's alright. I don't like the red one to show that it's multiple connections. I think it would have been nicer if it was a more vibrant colour of red. The green is alright though. It's just a bit tricky to follow up with once you have a lot of stuff, but also little arrows in there that show you what is giving the input to what is very, very useful. You can see all of these are all arrows going into this one block here. All of these are going across. It's very useful, very, very nice, very good quality of life update. Yeah, so this is one of the main things I wanted to talk about. In the live stream they did for this logic of the update, the best way that one of them showed off their new output scaling, which is essentially distance sensors now being able to tell how far away something is by themselves. That is a very good, very, very good feature to have. And it shows it off here. You can see how as the ball goes past, it's showing it, but you'll see how the closer it gets to it, the darker that orange colour becomes. So I think that what they've done here is they've used a number input. I doubt you'll be able to change it because obviously it's determined by how far something away is, and that's something that has to be measured, not controlled. So what I'm expecting they've done is they've given it a output 0 to 1 for how far away something is, 1 being the max distance the distance sensor is set to, 0 being no, like it can't see anything, whether there's nothing in front of it or it's too far away. And the closer that number gets to 1 is the more it goes up like the light spectrum, because I think this blue colour here on the top, I think the furthest away you can get to something is going to be a purple colour, and the closer you get is going to be a red colour, which, that's really good. That is a really, really good update. There is a second use of this, a much more simple use than having a massive grid system, which I will get to later. Randomizer, you know, when is it not cool to have a randomizer? Wait, oh, there it is in there. So yeah, I can see he's got he's got a system here that's picking between 4 rounded numbers, I'm assuming, and he's got 4 options there for 4 different faces. That's cool, you know, that's cool. Randomizers are very useful. Actually, saying that, yes, you could 100% also use that randomizer block in the thing that I'm going to talk about later. So yeah, this update all links in with what I'm expecting they're going to make. Or expect us to make, even. Right, here we go. Here's the second thing that is very, very good. These two in particular here. These two in particular. So, you know, you have what you'd expect. You have a plus, minus, times, and divide. You have a percentage here. That'll be useful for simplifying logic. But these two are very, very useful. Let me explain why. So, when you make a car in Trailmakers, and you have lots of dragon engines, for example, to make it go fast, accelerate fast, When you try to brake or accelerate, it's instant. It goes from 0 to 100 instantly. It goes from 100 to 0 instantly. Because the line kind of looks like this, right? This is the accelerating gradient of what... Oh, that was the wrong button. Of what is going on with those types of vehicles. There's 0, and the more power you give it, the more it accelerates in the quicker time, right? That's simple. What you can do to this line here is you can put a little squid in there. Now you will notice all of a sudden it is now a curve. It is no longer a straight line. And you'll notice that the closer I get to 0, the shorter the change in the value becomes. So from 0 to 1 is a change of just 1. From 1 to 2, it goes all the way from 1 to 4. It's a distance of 3. That's a lot. What this means in terms of Trailmakers is as you step on the accelerator, it is now going to accelerate. It is going to slowly get faster over time as opposed to just instantly getting faster. And it's the same for slowing down. The where this is limited is the fact that this still goes up. That's not good because it means if you try to go backwards, you're still going to go forwards. You're just going to accelerate normally. That's where a change in this number comes into play. If you change that 2 for a 3, now you will notice it goes up on the one side and down on the other side in both negative and both positive values. Now meaning, if you accelerate with the 1, it is going to actually accelerate realistically, and if you reverse, you will this time accelerate, but in the right direction. If you keep increasing the number, like 4, it goes back to a curve, but the intervals just change. They get like a lot bigger, a lot faster. So you can see the more I put in, it's the same shapes. 2, 3, and 1 are the most important, right? That's going to change. Now that we can put squared values into that, we're now going to be able to have this gradient. That's very useful. That is very, very useful. And then concerning those arithmetic blocks you saw at the start there, what that means for us now is that we no longer have to have a big system. Okay, I'm gonna illustrate this for you as well. I'm gonna illustrate this. If you have 4 distance sensors, which you don't need this anymore because now in the update, distance sensors can tell you how far away the thing you're looking at is. But say beforehand, if you had 4 of them that were set to different distances, went in descending order. If you put an object quite far away from you, and you slowly drew it closer, those distance sensors would one by one turn on, but they would stay on. Once they'd seen that object, they would stay on. Having 2 outputs is no good. You don't want that because the thing is getting closer. What this arithmetic block does is now you can have all those distance sensors, you can put all those outputs into the arithmetic block, you can have the arithmetic block pick out the smallest value. So it will always give you the signal coming from the distance sensor that has the smallest range. And it can do other stuff as well, like it can add all the values of an AND block, it can take away all the values, times values, and divide them. But I think stuff like that, what I just explained, I think that's where it's going to be most useful. There is another thing I saw, which they haven't discussed actually in detail in this trailer. Right, here it is. Functions. And what it says there is cosine, right? It's rules of a triangle. That is so useful. Say, for example, you wanted to make a robot. So here's your robot. This is a bird's eye view. And you told him that he wanted to walk 5 steps up and 3 steps over, right? That's where you want him to go. You want him to end up here. This robot is going to go 5 steps up and 3 steps over. This takes too much time. Way too much time. What you can do instead, you can draw that line there, and if you use this angle here, your robot now, with this logic, is going to work out how far he needs to turn and how far he needs to go to end up in the same place, going in a direct route. And that's all he does. Let's actually try and work this out. So you saw how long that took me to do. your robot is going to be able to do that instantly now. He's going to know that he needs to turn 30.9 degrees and walk 5.81 steps to reach this same location in half the time, in a fraction of the time he would have taken to go 5 steps up, turn 90 degrees, and then walk 3 steps in the other direction. This is also useful for another type of equipment that you will now be able to make now that you have all of these updates. So the first thing we have is a distance sensor. This is the distance sensor here, right? And he is sensing something off in the distance. He can see it, right? He can see it perfectly. This distance sensor doesn't know that this object is actually moving at 30 meters a second. He doesn't know that. So what do? We put another one here that is going to sense to see when this one stops seeing it and this one starts seeing it. Now that this one knows exactly how far away it is, let's say it is 30 meters away. It's 30 meters away, and this is actually, take that back. We just pretend we don't know how fast it's going. Right? We do not know how fast it's going. But when this one stops seeing it, this one sees it 3 seconds later. Using speed, distance over time, what we can do is we can work out exactly how fast this thing is going. Because we have the distance it is away, now that this can tell exactly how far away it is, and we have the time it takes to get between the two sensors that are sensing the distance away. So distance is 30, with time which is 3, it is going 10 meters a second. From that, we can now make a system that swivels these two distance sensors so that the system repeats. This one has now turned that way. Has gone in like... Let's get rid of all these values. So now that these distance sensors know that this is travelling at 10 meters a second, what we can do is have a servo underneath that turns these two accordingly. So they turn so that this one now returns to looking at it, and this flying object, and it waits to see how long this takes for it to see it, so that it's always measuring speed. From this, we can draw a line using our new using our new triangle logic. What we can do is, instead of having a line like this that points towards the actual object, we can work out with how fast it's going. We can predict exactly where it's going to be in however long it takes for it to reach this distance sensor. There is a system in real life which does this. Put very simply, that is the system in real life that uses this logic. It's radar and missile systems. Could Trailmakers be trying to make missiles in base game easier to do? Could they be trying to make this a thing? Because I have my radar over here, and I have my fish bed over here, my MiG-21. The missile knows, because of how fast it's going, it knows where to lead, to not be aiming straight for the plane, but to be aiming for where it's going to be. We can do that in Trailmakers. With this new logic, we can do it. On top of this, you might be aware of a certain type of radar in the modern day. It looks a little something like that. And it shoots off little radio waves, little radar waves like that, in random directions. ASA radar, right? With the randomizer, we can do that as well. We can now make like really, really sophisticated radar systems in Trailmakers, and we can have missiles that now follow trajectory. I will be trying this. I cannot promise you anything. I cannot promise you that I will be able to make this. I think the biggest limitations are going to be the boosters in the missile and the range on the distance sensors. If I can get around those, or if max range of distance sensors gets increased in the update. You know, little hint for you there. Flashbulb on something I think a lot of people would be appreciative. Just, you know, just chuck a few zeros on the end of that 50 meters max range. Just chuck a few zeros on there. If that happens, we can have missiles in base game. That's the main thing I wanted to discuss about this new logic block update. I'm pretty excited for it. I don't know when is it coming out actually. No, okay, so we don't know yet. All right, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Well, I'm really excited for this. I hope you are too, and I'll see you in the next video.